What's up, everybody? It's Chad. I'm back again with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. We're getting into the nitty gritty. It is episode 36. And I'm here with Fausto from Galileo. What's up, Fausto?
What's up, guys? It's me, Fausto Quesada with Galileo Cannabis LLC. We're a newly licensed retail store based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. So glad to be here. Appreciate you having us.
Appreciate you all coming down, man. Driving down for making that trip. I'm going to be excited to hang out afterwards, and we'll have a pretty cool session and everything.
Heck
yeah.
yeah.
Hell yeah, bro. So yeah, guys, as you said, they're from Galileo and everything. We'll get to that in a second. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about a few things. Of course, we're going to talk about Galileo, but there's also some stuff happening within the rules of the CCD, and also there was like an interim committee that happened yesterday. I covered it a little bit, but today I'll cover a little bit more in bulk. We'll have a good conversation about it, and we'll talk about it more. So anyways, let's get into the episode today. So let's talk about Galileo Cannabis Company. So before we do, though, tell people a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the industry, what's your passion and everything that drove you into this.
Okay. Yeah, so I am born and raised out of Albuquerque, like I already said. So I barely got into the cannabis industry probably about like 2-3 years ago. I actually got into a really bad accident, a snowboarding accident. I broke my pelvis and sacrum, and it kind of drove me more into the cannabis industry. I had always smoked occasionally with like some buddies and stuff, but never really took it too serious. And after I got into my accident, one of my close buddies, he's like, dude, let's see what we could do about opening up a dispensary, like at least coming up with some ideas. So yeah, we sat there and we kind of ran with some like different names. We were sitting there smoking and just looking at the stars, and so that's kind of like where like I kind of got into the industry, I guess. And I really love the medicinal side of it. I definitely like the stories that you see, like kind of where it goes in and changes people's lives and stuff like that. But I definitely my bad. I shitted that one.
No, don't worry about it, man. You did a good job. No, that was great explaining it. But I mean, no, that was great. You did a good job. It's we got some reactions back behind stage. We got some reactions. But we keep it moving, man. That's a great, like there's a lot of passion behind that, and I could tell. There's a lot of information you want to give out, and sometimes it's just like But no, totally, I get it. Like you're in this, you got hurt, and then you realize, cannabis is a medicine for you, and it's changed your lives. Like so many people, myself. So many people that were in the medical cannabis industry for so long here in New Mexico, I've been in it for 10 years now, it's going a little ridiculous how long I've been here. But it is a medicine. I've seen it change people's lives, seen it save people's lives, especially my vets, what I mean? So yeah, it's totally great to see that, you have that passion and drive and everything. So yeah, is there anything else you want to share before we move on to Galileo itself?
No, honestly, just shout out to the whole Galileo team. I appreciate everyone. We wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for you guys. That's going to be my boy Manny, my boy Cisco, my cousin D, my boy Prince, and my boy Seth. Shout out Sav Smokes, everyone else. And without you guys, it wouldn't have been possible. So let's do this. And also my fiance, that's the main one. That's the whole, she's everything behind the business. So
holding it down, huh? Holding the fort down.
She's doing it.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. And without the team, it's nothing. So that's awesome that you do that. We're moving on. We'll talk about Galileo. Shout out to the team again. You have an awesome team. I've met him a couple of times, so it's pretty cool that you give him a shout out. So can you give a little history or background of who Galileo is? Like where the idea come from and everything, because it's pretty interesting name.
I guess. Honestly, me and my buddy, after my accident, we were literally just sitting there, just in the garage, smoking up joints, and we were like, dude, what would be a cool name for a dispensary? And we just sitting there, we're tossing around names back and forth, trying to mix names, and we looked up and we both like kind of had this like moment that we like snapped. We're like, Galileo. We're like, he studies the stars. We just sat there like actually like just embracing the stars and kind of just in the moment. And we weren't sure where it was gonna play out, and the idea kind of sat for like probably like 6 months, and then I just it was like a list in my note basically in my phone that I had, and one day I touched on it and I was like, you know what, I need to see what I could do with this business model, see where we could take it in.
That's great. I think about that too when I first saw it. I was like, that makes sense. Like not even having to know the background and everything. And he's known to be quoted as, I love the stars too much to be afraid of the dark.
Yes.
And that's great to hear. Sometimes it gets a little dark here in New Mexico. But at least you got the stars. At least you got the stars.
So. It brights everything up.
Awesome. So who did your logo? Like, that's a pretty cool logo that you guys got. For some crazy guy on the street gave this to me.
That was crazy. No, honestly, me and my buddy, I sat there and I was looking up graphic designers, and I had looked up I had asked around in the cannabis industry and tried seeing who kind of was good with art, like specific to the cannabis. And I found this one person, I forgot what their name was. It was Kamaki. It was this guy based out of the Philippines.
Okay.
And so there's definitely a language barrier right there for sure.
I've had to do that before, yeah.
Yeah, and he killed it though. I told him what I wanted and I kind of gave him ideas, and he killed it, but he just didn't give it to me in the right file. So later down the road, whenever I had to like use it on different products like shirts or like different like blowing up for like the flyer stuff like that.
Oh, like the vector files.
Yeah, the vector files.
Okay.
He gave it to me in a PNG, like just a PNG file, and it wasn't the proper one. So I had to go kind of get it redone by my boy Ransom Studios. And the way I'd met him was from my other buddy in the cannabis industry. I had seen he was doing his art, and I was like, yo, is it cool if I hit up your boy? And he's like, for sure, bro. He's like, do it. And so I hit him up, and turns out this guy is a local in New Mexico, and he has a lot of different contracts with people around the United States, specifically the cannabis industry, and he's doing all their like wrap, like all the like jars, like all the different media basically for those companies. And so I reached out to him, and he ended up living in Santa Fe.
Oh, okay.
And he's like,
dope.
dude, he's like, I've actually been meaning to reach out to you. He's like, I seen like we had a mutual friend. He's like, I wanted to like reach out. And so we sat down and had lunch, and I threw my ideas. And since then, now we have like we kind of have like a little like monthly or like every 2 months we meet. I shoot him my ideas, and we kind of come up with like some different art, some different graphics and stuff. So it's Ransom Studios who kind of went in and retouched my logo, but the original guy was Kamaki. He was based out of the Philippines.
Dope. Yeah, that's funny. I've used Fiverr once before, and for something I was doing on Twitch, during COVID. Yeah. And the guy I was working with was from, I think, Thailand or something. So the language barrier kind of sucked. Like there's a couple things misspelled, and I was like, I don't even know what word that is.
It's funny because I was always waking up in the morning, and I would wake up to all kinds of messages, and then I would message her back, and then I wouldn't hear back till the next morning.
The time difference.
So I was always tripping out. I was like, what? So that was crazy.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and it's great to see that artists are getting involved in the industry and everything, and they're needed. We're seeing it more and more. So long the days of hand jam and stuff. So you can't do that. Got to make it pretty.
Graphic designers are key for sure. In my
Exactly.
I know a couple people out in different bigger states that their marketing is just on point. You walk in and they have their graphic designers just in there whipping up all the different designs for all the upcoming projects they have, and it's cool. You could see how they set their stone in the industry versus other people that don't focus on marketing too much. So I think graphic designing is huge for sure.
I agree. And speaking of pretty and all that, your shop, I've been there a couple times. And speaking of that, you seem to have knocked that out of the park. From the floors to the walls to the atmosphere and the lighting. It's just really pretty in there. You can change the lighting at the drop of a dime. Make it whatever you want, darker, lighter. And also there's a basketball hoop, and that's something I've never seen at a dispensary before. Maybe there is somewhere else in the States, but I've never seen that before in New Mexico, and that's pretty cool because in Alamogordo for some reason it seems like all of us play ball.
Oh,
we're bored, so all of us play ball, even the Cowboys. So yeah, it was pretty cool to see that, sit there, shoot some hoops. I know we did that pop up with Chris's Craft, and me and Josh got to sit over there and shoot a couple threes. Shout out to y'all. And it was pretty cool to see the fact that not only do you have like the atmosphere, you have the astronaut on the wall, or you have the picture op. That's a perfect opportunity, to get tags and stuff like that. It's part of free marketing. You guys are always doing events and stuff like that too, which is great. We'll get more on that in a little bit. But like even from the way that you structure like your shop, it's very open. You walk in, it's not like hitting you in the face right away. It's not like the Colorado and California model where you're stopped by some big dude who's mean and wanting to check your ID. It's a little more welcoming, versus that kind of model, and I like that, and I appreciate it because you're doing something different. You're not following the same model. You're thinking outside of the box, and that's something I can appreciate. That when I walked in, I was like, Galileo.
Oh yeah, dude, I love that.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what we were aiming for whenever we were designing everything. Is me and my fiance were walking through and we're like, all right, everything has to we're about experience. We want to create an experience here. Yes, you walk into dispensaries, you're crammed, you can't fit, you can't turn a corner usually without kind of bumping into someone else, or knocking over something. So we definitely do have a lot of space, and we're working on utilizing a lot more of our space and kind of making it a little bit more, not crammed, but definitely we have a couple spots where we're like, all right, we need to put stuff here. We need to definitely catch a couple different audiences, I guess. But that was one thing we were after. Is like we wanted people to walk in and feel like they were in a galaxy, like the stars. Like as soon as people walk in, the floor just catches you. You know, and that was our main thing. Is I had gotten a couple quotes, like different samples on the floor, and that one guy that my boy Decocrete Solutions, he's actually working on the cookies building right now.
Dope.
So he's taking on some big projects. He's killing it, and he has a floor business, and he was the one that came to me with that exact sample on that floor, and I was like, dude, this is the one. I was like, let's go. I was like, it's it. It just loses you, and it fit exactly what I wanted to create. So that was perfect. So the honestly, the basketball court, it came after we had already opened, and we were like, dude, we need to have like some type of game in here, because we were originally gonna do this chess and checkers. I was talking to my buddy, and we were gonna do this big like chess, and we're just like, that's just too much. We're like, I don't know about that. And one day, me and my homegirl Taylor, actually from Savage Smokes, she was like, dude, let's do a basketball court. And I was like, that's it. I was like, that's it. So I literally got on Amazon, got the freaking thing, ordered it right there. Yeah. And we put it up in 2 days. And right after we put it up, my boy Manny, he goes and freaking he slam dunks it, and it takes off the wall. It comes right off the wall. So I was like, no. So we had to come add like a different layer of protection and kind of add like some more like extra like protection basically onto it, so it could hold onto the wall more. And it was funny though. But after that, it seems to have been a hit, and we have a bunch of new stuff that we're like trying to add into the shop to kind of not necessarily, we still want it to be open and welcome, but there is definitely a lot of space that we have that we're trying to see what we could do with.
Yeah, definitely. You know, a couple more displays and stuff like that. I can see that, you know, because there's a lot of room. And I was going to say, you know, you're shooting hoops with the shooting stars. So that's pretty dope, you know, you go in there, because you do get that atmosphere of, you know, with the cosmos.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so crazy because you could see people going and they're just like, at first they're like kind of in a rush. And I'm like, hey, wait, come here. I like walk around. I'm like, you ready to win a pre-roll? And they're just like looking at me like, what the fuck is this guy gonna do here? You know? And so we walk around and I take him to the court and I pick up the basketball. And as soon as I do it, they're like, oh, I never played basketball. But I don't take go for it. I was like, no, you're playing today. You're gonna
granny shot, whatever.
Like, you're gonna win this. And you know, if it's a grandma, we let her scoot up a little bit more, you know. But if you got the cousin there, you're shooting him from full court, you know. Yeah. And so it's funny. We usually line it up with this balloon that we have on the wall, so that's how we know like where to have people to shoot. But they get 6 tries. If they get 6 tries, if they make 3 of them in a row, they win a free pre-roll. And it's so cool because after you do this with people, their experience from walking in, like they could be super serious or like ready to go or in a rush, but after you do that with them, some of them are like, no, I don't want to do it, and you just make them do it anyway. And I promise, every single one after they're done with that, they leave smiling and they're like, dude, that was such a cool experience. Like what? Like never done anything like that. So that hit the park. That was perfect. So shout out Taylor on that one. Came in clutch. Appreciate you. So that was a perfect idea. We have a ton of other little random things that we're trying to add in there and just see what we can do to spice it up some more. Yeah,
maybe like, you know, if you can cross me up, you know, you get a free doobie or something like that. You know,
100%.
show me your best moves.
Yeah, exactly.
And one days.
Exactly.
Where's Professor? Professor.
Bro, have like a little tournament. We were thinking like do a little tournament, like just messing around, you know, just bringing the community together and just making that impact is what we're after for sure.
Nice, yeah, dude. That's great to see, and it's great to be a little more active. You know, you go into dispensaries. Sometimes it's a little serious. You know, like, oh, no phones. Oh, stand in line. I'm like, am I back in the army eating chow? What the hell's going on?
It's like, dude, come on.
I'm like, y'all giving me PTSD by being here. Go somewhere else, chill. I'm gonna shoot some hoops. So yeah, I mean, it's great to see, and you know, even the structure. You have like a smoke shop inside of the shop, and it's like separate from everything else. You know, like sometimes you go into a smoke shop and there's stuff everywhere. It's kind of distracting to the customer, and you know what they're trying to get is the product. And it's great because you can do one or the other. You don't have to do the same at the same time, or both at the same. And that's great. You know, like I noticed that too, and I was like, you know, it's not as distracting. I can actually pay attention to the product. What do they have? What do I want? And then either or, I can go to there first and get something like, oh, I need a bong. You know, I need a pipe. You know, it broke. You know, like, I just got to get that first. Okay, cool. Let me go see what they have, or vice versa. You know, like, I need some weed. You know, well, let's go see what bongs they have. And,
let's check it out.
Yeah, exactly. So what kind of, you know, stuff on the smoke shop side do you really like to carry, and, you know, what do you guys specialize?
Honestly, so that one, it's a whole separate entity.
Okay.
So they that one, they don't sell nicotine or tobacco, just because it's not allowed and they don't have their so that's one thing we don't sell in there. But what we do focus on carrying is a lot of local art. So there's a lot of local artists in there. truly that's my buddy Greg and Taylor. So that's their Sav Smokes. That's their entity. So they're the ones who kind of control like on what's gonna go on their shelf, stuff like that. But I definitely know that a lot of local artists have went in there, dropped off some glass and stuff like that. So they've created that impact in the community. And they actually have a show, a glass show coming up. It's gonna be the first in New Mexico. They might have done it before, but they're definitely aiming to do it on a very large scale. And they've teamed up with some pretty big people in the glass industry.
Yeah.
So they're working. They're grinding for sure. They're doing it, and I'm excited for that event. It's gonna be really fun. So stay tuned for that. I think it's coming around I think next month is what they said, like next month or December. Yeah. But it's gonna be really fun for sure. I know they're gonna have a lot of local. I think they're aiming to only bring local artists, local glass blowers in New Mexico.
That's dope.
But I won't release too much. I'll definitely let them see what they're gonna do. But they're killing it, and I know that every single time someone walks in, they're bringing they have this little like this rig, and it's like an electric rig, dude. You put your hands on it. And it's static, like there's little energy bulbs.
Oh, that's dope! Like the old school ones you put your hands on, like dispensers.
So they have all kinds of random stuff like that. That's super cool, and it's super unique. And they had already been in the glass industry for a while, so they jumped in and they're killing it. They're doing their thing. It's exciting for sure.
That's dope, man. I'm glad to see that we're really in the industry here embracing local. Yes. I get it. There's other states doing this. There's other states doing that. Let us figure it out how we want to do it here. Let us give you a different experience from Colorado, California, Washington. Because I've noticed even when I go to those states, I do get a different experience. So, let us figure it out, and you're on that path too, and other people can, really take note and say, okay, let's think outside the box and make this New Mexico, let's do something cool. Maybe someone will have a bull, and if you lasso it, you win a free doobie. That would be kind of cool. Yeah. That'd be cool to see.
Yeah, that would be dope to see at Matchbox, because that would fit their theme.
Oh, that would fit the theme. Yeah, cool. Y'all at Matchbox, you should probably do that. I'm gonna have them on the show sometimes when she stops being shy. I know I called you out, but stop being shy, dude.
Don't be shy. You don't bite. Yeah,
much love to them.
Yes, they kill it for sure. I had seen them on the map for a while, so it was cool whenever we actually got some of their product on our shelves, and they kill it.
Yeah, they do. Some of the best product, out there. And when they go to events and everything, they have some flower out there you can see and check it out for yourself. And I love that, because not many people show you a live plant, how it is in the state that it is currently growing. Yes. And that's really cool. So that's something that's outside of the box.
Exactly. It's different. Yeah, and that's different. What you want. You don't want something just your average dispensary or your average retail store or whatever it is. You want to create that experience. And I feel like that's what's truly going to make that impact and kind of make you stand out, in my opinion.
100%. And I also noticed that you guys do pizza.
Yes. We went from doing it every day, and now we're just doing it Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been very good so far. Honestly, it's my buddy Seth. He's the one who came in and kind of whipped everything up, and he's the mastermind behind it. He's been in pizza for 15 years. Okay. And so he really knows what he's doing. Yesterday, I was just over there, and he was just whipping up all kinds of different ingredients, dude. And I was like, dude, it smells delicious. But I was like, but I don't know what you do over there. I was like, just do it. I was like, whip it up, because we actually had to make all the dough. So we make all the dough fresh. We make all the sauce fresh. Everything's in house. And so yeah, yesterday he was whipping it all up together so we could have it ready for today and for Saturday. So that's been very fun, and it's been different too. It's one thing some days, every other weekend, we're giving away free pizza. Yeah. We'll work on promoting it more and getting it more on social media, but more of the locals around us, the more everyday shoppers. Yeah. They already know. They'll come in and be like, hey, where's my pizza?
Where's my slice, bro?
Yeah, so they definitely hold us to it, bro. So it's been a cool, fun experience for sure, and it's different too. Exactly like we were talking about. It's something that's gonna draw people in, and it's not like this. My buddy Antonio from Terp Garden. He's like, dude. He's like, you have this. He's like, you have food, glass, and cannabis. He's like, there's food, that's all three. He's like, those are three things you have that's super different that a lot of people don't have. So that's where we're kind of really focused on and kind of seeing what we could do with those opportunities for sure.
100%. And that's great to go that route, because you can get an eighth and a quarter slice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what do you want? You want the eighth slice to go with the eighth?
That'd be super dope. Yeah. It's super cool. It's different.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
That is cool. And like you said, it's outside of the box, and you put the pizza in the box, but you're thinking outside of that. Exactly, and then that's great that that you see that. And when I saw that, I was like, that's cool. I was like, this is dope. And, you know, what other things do you really have in plan for Galileo, you know, outside of this? Or is it like super secret squirrel stuff?
A little bit of both. You know, we definitely have some stuff that we're working on that's some big different projects. But to be honest, this was one of my first ventures that I'd ever taken on. I still own a mobile notary company. It's called Prosper for You. So that's been my main butter, then my main pride and joy. And after I kind of had to shy away from that and fully open Galileo, get that up and running the way I wanted it to. And now, after the 2 months of us being open, I feel like it's been now could finally breathe a little bit. So we're able to like focus on all the other projects. So one small thing, I know we're gonna add like a new little game in the showroom. Like we're gonna have like a new game that's you're gonna be able to walk in and I don't know exactly what the game's called, but it's like where there's different sticks on a certain section of the wall, and they're sticking out, and there's kind of like a board blocking the sides of it, and you drop the like a bar, like a token in it.
Oh yeah,
One small thing we're gonna do, and we have a bunch of like little small like little ideas that we're gonna do. So really, the sales floor is really just gonna be changing dramatically, just adding more stuff in there and making it more eye-catching and stuff like that. Definitely still make it where you can breathe, because that's one thing we really want. Because I've walked into countless dispensaries where, like I said, you can't turn and do anything. So the main thing that really just keep your eyes peeled is the sales floor. We're trying to see what we could do with that. But we also outside we are working on getting our consumption license, and we're just running through a couple like roadblocks. But be ready to be able to smoke outside, enjoy some pizza on the little patio area for sure. It's gonna be nice. But yeah, other than that, we have a couple big projects that we'll wait till they're a little bit more settled in,
more matured.
Yeah, we
definitely.
got this. Yeah,
appreciate that.
Yeah,
and I respect that 100%. So you guys, you know, stay tuned, and you know, you'll find out, you know, what they have in plan and everything. So that's great. So I noticed your selection, you know, of what cannabis you have is very wide. You have so many people, you know, like there's so many different, different not dispensaries, but different, producers, different manufacturers, you have in there. What is, one of your favorites, or what is really selling hot right now?
So honestly, my buddy from Iron Fist Cannabis, he was one of the first people that showed us some love and kind of took us serious, I guess, because being the underdogs, trying to run into an industry like this, it's rough. People don't take you serious at all.
Yeah.
At first opening, he was definitely like very welcoming, and he showed us the same energy he's showing us this day. Now that we kind of have a little bit more branding and we're a little bit more established, but that's we got some rosin off of them from it was from Soul Cannabis, it was like a month, it was like right when we opened, and that stuff flew, because it was just, I got it for such a good price. So they definitely came. That was one thing. And then I would say definitely keep your eyes peeled. Like Fior carts do really good for us. There's Assurance Laboratories, my buddy over there at Couch Lock. There's a ton of brands, like you said. It's countless of. We definitely, at first when we jumped in with a lot of different brands that we weren't too sure of, and we're kind of slapping ourselves on the back for it now. But we definitely have gotten a little bit more educated on what brands and what their morals and kind of what type of quality they're producing. So now we're kind of dialing in a little bit more and getting more picky, basically. Like at first, yes, we were like, everyone, like, let's go. And so now we're trying to really, all right, like who's like really been rocking with us since day one? Whose products pushing at the end of the day? That's going to be the main point. Is
that's fair.
What's going? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but we definitely are taking those two considerations into play and seeing what other relationships we establish and which ones we keep.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah. So there's a lot though. I know like Assurance Laboratories, Couch Lock, Z Labs, Alto Cannabis, Matchbox Farms, me and my buddy Turp Garden. That's someone to keep an eye out for sure. He's killing it. He's coming in hot. Me and him have a lot of different stuff planned. So that's one. Those are probably like some of my top favorite brands for sure.
Heck yeah, bro. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. And speaking of, there's one that is in there you didn't mention. So you have a cousin in the industry too, right?
That's actually something I was going to talk to you about. No, I don't. What cousin was it?
Oh wait, no, I flipped that. There's someone else in the cousin. Sorry.
Okay.
But there's
I have a ton of cousins.
Honestly, yeah.
So
there's someone else I had because you're so supportive in the community.
Yes.
And like I'll fix that another time. But you're so supportive in the community that I had these guys on the show. It's Green Fuego.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I noticed you guys had some of that there too.
Yeah,
I actually bought some there last time I was there.
Those are homies.
Yeah, those because you're so involved in the community. I wanted to mention that too because you go to all these events or you have events, you know, and like you invite all these people, and that's one thing that I've noticed that's happening now is different manufacturers are getting together, different retailers are getting together, different producers are kind of getting together, and we're all kind of meshing together, do these different things, and it's great to see that.
Yes.
It's great. And that's one thing that I've noticed about you guys that you're all about community and culture. And you guys come from community and culture too, and that's the difference. And that makes a huge difference because you guys are more in tune with what do we want, what's here, like how do we need to work with this to make it more of a community, because you guys will show up to events, we're there, and there's different retailers there, there's different manufacturers there, and we're just having a good old time together. We're sharing product, we're talking about what's going on, let's collab, let's do this and that. 100%. And so we just kind of get together, and it's great because for some reason down here in the South, it's kind of sparse with that. It's slowly kind of getting together, but there's still a lot of and I think it's because during the medical days we were so spread out and there wasn't as much of a community like it was in Albuquerque. And and we kind of are behind in community when it comes here. Because you can tell it makes a difference, like a total difference. And it's just great to see that you guys are, almost in the forefront of being a part of community. Like anytime I go to Albuquerque, I'm seeing the events, you guys are a part of it, you're putting them on, especially with the pizza stuff. The pizza stuff is great. And so you guys, shout out to you guys 100% for, going the extra mile to do that, like not many people were like, oh yeah, we're not gonna bother ourselves with doing pizza too. You're like, no, bring that shit on. Let's do it. Let's make the pizza. Let's sling some pizza. 100%. Let's do it. So, it's great to see. What else do you have in plans for the community? Like, events and stuff like that. Do you have anything you want to share in that front?
Yeah, 100%. Like, honestly, we have countless events that we're working on at the moment with different businesses and stuff. So that was one thing that I noticed, that the industry was so, it's cutthroat. It's hard to work with other retailers. It's hard to work with manufacturers, producers. The communication, nothing's always aligned properly. So it's cool whenever you were actually all able to get together as one and see what we could all do together. And it's amazing. Like I've seen a lot of different events that I've been at or I've hosted that I've seen other people, like different brands that were able to connect and start collabing and stuff like that. So I love that. That's what we're after. We want the community to work together. We want everyone to engage together. Mm-hmm. We're not, there's enough bread for everybody. Let's all work together. Let's all help each other, and let's grow. I know at the end of the day, it can't always be like that, and you have to be careful with who you share what with. But that's one thing, is we really want to bring everyone together, especially the cannabis industry, and just really see what we could do together and see where it could take us. Because there's an event that we got coming up on what is it? It's October 27th. I'm sorry.
Okay.
October 27th. It's our trunk or treat. Yeah. So
dope.
That's gonna be our first event that's targeting giving back to kids. So we're actually gonna have everyone's gonna be handing out the candy, all that normal stuff, the vendors. Mm-hmm. But we're actually also gonna be out giving hygiene stuff and clothes. And then we're gonna be giving out one free costume to a lucky winner and stuff like that. So cool. That's gonna be super fun. We're gonna have a bull ride there, a little bull riding contest. It's gonna be fun, dude. It's gonna be bad for sure. So we're really after those community events and just getting everyone together as a whole and seeing what relationships we could build and just all of us grow together. Because that was one thing whenever I first jumped into it. I had noticed down south, you guys. There was one person, I think forgive me if I pronounce her name wrong. You might know her, Nicole
Fox.
Fox, yeah, Nicole Fox, and I had noticed she's huge down here at the an organization that constantly was throwing events and gathering everyone down here. So that was one thing that sparked my eye too, and it caught me. And I had always complimented. I was like, dude, it seems like down south, they're able to really kind of come together. So it's crazy. We both kind of have that perspective, how you're oh yeah, Albuquerque's coming together. I'm like, oh yeah, Las Cruces is coming together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, so
we're coming together more.
Yeah,
it's coming together.
I think it's just that we're actually from these cities, and we actually know when people are actually coming together and actually doing their part. So that's huge. But that's one thing we're really after, is let's work together as a community, and let's see what impact we could do, and how we can make this a more positive looked at industry. Because a lot of people look at it down on the downside. I have a couple family members that just don't like cannabis at all, and a couple of them I've been able to change their perspective of it. But still trying to battle that stigma of it for sure. But that's what we need to be after. And I feel like if all of us get together as a community and are able to educate these people, that's going to make that true impact in that kind of that choice, like for them to go over basically. And, yeah,
100%. Because we're still kind of stuck in the basement with some of the regulations and everything that's in the state.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much everywhere in the nation. We haven't really come together and figured out how to do this correctly. And we're kind of getting there. In New Mexico, we're on the right path. I think we're on the right path. Of course, nothing's perfect. But I feel like we did it better. I mean, California doesn't really have consumption laws like we do. I think Governor Newsom just vetoed a bill that would have allowed Amsterdam style cafes, and I was like, oh my god.
They're like, nope, out the door.
Yeah, and like they're always giving us shit because we're behind. I'm like, you guys are kind of behind on that though.
Yes.
Like there's some certain parts where we're kind of excelling versus other states, and we kind of get overlooked. Just like that one fact I tell people all the time, that New Mexico was the very first medical cannabis state back in the 70s. And that's something that's overlooked all the time. Like, oh, California. I was like, it was actually us.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. It's like, it's actually us. But okay, whatever. Y'all can have that. So yeah, it's great to see that, you guys are just pushing for that, and just like, no, let's get out there. Let's put ourselves out there. And some of you watching that maybe in the industry, you're having a hard time, getting out there, just go. Some of these events, these pop-ups that you can do are free. Like the Top Crop one, that was free. We all just got to go and hang out, and it was just a whole community thing.
Yes.
It was just great to see. And of course, Green Fago went with their cart and whatever, and was driving it around. It's always fun to see that thing, and it was cool. And so I'm glad to see. So I appreciate you guys doing that for the community, and so much you guys have done, just already from just seeing it with my own eyes, and experiencing it myself. So thank you for coming on the show with me. But however, before we move on to our next topics, where can people find you in Albuquerque, and where could they find you online, Instagram, and all that good stuff?
So we're actually in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Our address is 637 Broadway Boulevard Northeast, and it's off of Broadway south of Lead. So it's right in the heart of the city, and our Instagram is Galileo_cannabis_LLC. Our first profile got shadow banned, so you have to type in all those specific underscores to find us now, but we're still out there. We're not stopping it. We're pushing through it. And our Facebook, I think it's just Galileo Cannabis LLC.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, appreciate that. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being on the show. And you guys have a lot of rich culture that you bring to the industry. So thank you for joining me today and making that trip again. So
yeah, of course, anytime, dude. It was super dope. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So we'll move on to some more topics. I'm gonna keep you guys updated what's going on in the state. There's a couple of things that happened just in the past 24 hours. So yesterday, it looks like an intern committee hearing happened, and I'm not too sure if it was in Santa Fe or where it was exactly, because I got it at almost probably the last 40 minutes of the hearing. Is probably where I got to view. And where the area that I caught really was focusing on license closure. And that's been a big, hot, controversial topic here in the state. We should close, we shouldn't close. It'll save businesses, it won't save businesses, this and that. And really what I got was the legislature was very standoffish when it came to closing licensure. And we can't really blame them or anybody else if that's the case, because some of these people from out of state don't know the history in New Mexico, what we've dealt with. For the liquor licenses, we had no more licenses were being issued. And so that caused licenses to inflate in prices to hundred thousands. And of course, I've heard of the $1 million license, story several times here in the state. And, that's kind of sort of slowly changed. But they say that several times. We don't want another of that happening. And myself, I've heard of people, and they've told me, I'm going to buy a license and I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm going to sit on it. And I'm going to wait for them to close licenses so I could sell it and make a lot of money. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go again.
You're like, no, race to the bottom.
Yeah, I'm like, oh no, we're doing that again. Please don't.
Like, let's go.
And that's the issue too with the numbers that we have. Not every number that you see or every retail establishment that's in that number is open. Yep. And the CCD acknowledges that. And they actually have numbers of, which ones are actually operating and which ones are not. And I forget the percentage off the top of my head. Please forgive me. And I think I said it in another episode when I was updating people from the last committee hearing. For some reason, these people think that's what's going to happen. And these legislators are like, no, we don't want to do that, because they probably know that's happening, and they're kind of like, oh my God. And they did bring up a few good points. They said, well, what about these towns that don't have a dispensary just right now for now? It's only been 18 months, or, it's a year and a half, that we've been in this industry so far. And, you guys are kind of, we need to chill out, and a lot of people are just, kind of stressed. I get it. Our livelihoods are on this. Some people put their whole lives on this. But at the same time, it's a gamble at the same time. Like if you don't do it right, you're not innovative. It's going to be kind of rough for you. You know, what's kind of your thoughts on that? You know, the whole license closure thing.
You know, I'm on the fence too. I personally, I'm a local in Albuquerque, and I feel like there should just be some type of stipulations around the owners and and there should be some type of like basically like if they don't have a certain, if they're not from here, basically, in my opinion, like if it's other people coming in from all these saturated markets, from these saturated states coming in, that's where something should be drawn. I'm not sure exactly what, and I would really have to sit there and kind of come up with more of a analytical plan for that. But I feel like there should be a cap on the licenses personally, but I've also heard the exact same thing where if they do put a cap on the licenses or they stop the licenses, it's going to raise the price for the current licenses, and then everyone's going to try to go sell their current license.
And it's another race to the bottom.
Yeah, so it's kind of exactly like you said. It's
double-edged sword.
Exactly. So it's really, I think there should be a cap. And I believe it would help, in my opinion. I think there wouldn't be, because literally, right, luckily where we're at, there's not too many other dispensaries. I think the closest one is like 6 minutes from us. But you have dispensaries that are literally like 1 minute, not even 1 minute from each other, like just across the street from each other. Like,
same here.
It's crazy, and it's there's certain areas of the city, especially Albuquerque, that it's just saturated. I'm like, dude, if you're not a well-established brand already, and you're trying to come and compete against some of these big dogs, and you're right across the street from them, it's super hard to do that and try to. So it's definitely interesting to see how it's going to play out, and I'm curious to see. But in my opinion, yes, there should be a cap.
Yes, and to be honest with me, at the very beginning, I was for a out-of-state cap or an out-of-state ban.
Yes.
Altogether, and that's something that I had pushed for. I said we need to give ourselves an opportunity because we're going into this with only 34, 33 producers. Yes. You know, we're not ready. We don't have enough product. Let's allow the New Mexicans to do it first for first 3 years. And then we can allow the out-of-state entities come in, because by then the federal laws may change. And to be honest, that timeline seems to be correct still, because this year it looks like the federal laws may change. So by then that timeline still would have helped us out and to kind of avoid where we're at right now, because a lot of the people that got into this came in with very little capital, and still some, today, are still going in with very little capital. And to me, I don't find that to be the best route to go when you're going into this industry, because you need to be fully funded. You need to be fully educated, and you need to understand what you're getting into if you're getting into this, because if not, you're going to have a really bad time. And I've seen a lot of people already have a really bad time. And it's already currently happened as we have this episode and we're recording right now. Yes. It doesn't stop for them, poor things. The pain continues.
There's still time back there.
Yeah. And, and I think another thing that was scared the legislators is we had very limited licenses during the medical years. And you both, all of us in this room essentially know that that was terrible for us. Yes. They wouldn't expand it to where it made sense. Like I'm from Alamogordo, as everybody knows. And when I moved back from Hawaii, after I got out of the military, that's where I was, and that's where I became a patient. We had no dispensaries in Alamogordo. Now there's a ton. The only place I could go to is here in Cruces. There was one dispensary, or in Rio Doso. Yeah. So my options were out of town, and one I had to go cross a border check. Yes. And back then, you did not fuck around with the border checks back then. Yeah. The medical program was totally different. It was so strict in the state that, it almost didn't make sense except for the PPL part, like growing your own cannabis. Okay. That was the only part that kind of, kept a lot of people in the program, or, just some legal protections that we did have until we expanded it around 2019, 2018, which is fairly recent, So I think that's another thing that scared them, because it caused so many issues. There was, shitty supply. There was, the quality was terrible. Yes. Like it's only getting better, now. Yes. Now it's barely getting better, and we're kind of healing from that. And I think that's the other idea with it. That they have. And, there's a lot of people that, we're not too sure what it's going to do, if we close licenses. It's kind of like an idea. Like, I think this is going to work. So, but we're not sure, because other states have tried it, but this is New Mexico. If we try to do things that California or Colorado does, it doesn't really work. Yes. And not all the times. There's certain little things that will work, here, but for the most part, it doesn't. And that's one thing that I think from them and from hearing them, that's what they're getting at. And another thing that they brought up, and I didn't even think of this myself, was entitlement. They feel that a lot of people are entitled to the license when we don't own the license. It's given to us, where it's pretty much leased to us by the state every year. Yes. You have to renew it every year. If you owned it, you wouldn't have to do that. Exactly. Like you'd maybe pay taxes. So that's one thing that he wanted to remind people is like, you're not entitled to this license. Please respect it that way. There's rules and regulations that we have to follow now. This is a regulated industry, and I understand some people out there, They want it to be just like tomatoes, and I'm with you on that. But there's a way things are and a way things should be. And right now, we have to follow these rules, and we have a chance to do something amazing. Yes. And we're on track to do that. And I think that's what he was just trying to get people to understand. Like, hey, you have this opportunity to, make a lot of money. Make New Mexico great. Don't ruin it. Yes. By thinking that this belongs to you out of a right. It's not. And I was like, you know what? That's right. That's right. That's fair. It's a little wake up call, because the CCD is cracking down. I think the last time I was in Albuquerque this past weekend, someone mentioned to me that they have an illegal consumption task force or something like that. They're going around to to the events, the sessions. Yeah. The illegal sesh task force is what it is. That's and they're trying to shut them down and press charges and all this and that. And, to me, that's a little ridiculous. It's no one's getting hurt. Should there be sales? No, I can't condone if there are or not sales going on at these things. But, it doesn't seem fair, in my opinion, to go around, because that's a part of our culture, and we shouldn't be put back into the closet or the basement because of that. And that's something that legislature has acknowledged, that we are doing it. But from my understanding, they were kind of, hands off. But that's legislature. CCD is a little bit different, and I think they want to take a different approach. In my opinion, this is something that needs to change in the law this next coming session. We need to go and be like, all right, we need to look at it, because the legislature has already mentioned and stated that they're looking at, in the next bill, having an event license, like something temporary. It's for an event. You can go, you can sell there, we can consume there, just like temporary. Any other kind of, temporary. So I feel that's something that we all need to push for. If we push for it, we can get it. Because that's something I feel our community and just the culture needs and is. Yes. We should be allowed to go to the park somewhere, and have a event like just they do with the wine fests. Yes. And the only difference between me going downtown and being next to someone smoking a cigarette or a vape is a 3-foot flimsy fence. Yeah. And I've seen it in Albuquerque, it's here and in Cruces, and so yeah. I don't think that's very fair either. Let's make it make sense. Yeah, and I don't know how you feel about that, but that's just kind of how I feel. It's like let's make it fair. Yes. Let's stop that stigma. And that's one thing that I'm still fighting for, is to kill that stigma, and you guys are too. Yes. And you guys are doing a phenomenal job at it.
You are too, man. You're killing it.
Thank you.
No, it definitely makes sense. Exactly like how you said there. You used to struggle so much to have to find your medicine. Mm-hmm. You would either have to go to Rio Dos or way down to a certain area to find it, and now it's everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. Can't throw a rock without hitting.
Yes, exactly. So it's like everyone saw the business opportunities and they went for it. And you definitely got to respect the hustle. You got to respect the grind, and you could see it. And it's crazy to see like how much it's gotten though. And exactly, kind of touching back on what you said about the out of state like ban, basically. Like I stand strong on that. I feel like that's huge. I feel like this is our time to shine. This is our time to put our education, our resources, everything that we've worked for to shine. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's huge, and I agree. We want to build us. All these other brands that have already established, they've already done well. They've already done good for themselves. And if they're obviously having to jump ship from that state to come over here to see because they see an opportunity, then it's definitely a little rough. There is a couple big time brands that like are more engaged in the community and more kind of involved in the community. Like I know there's like a Wild. They came through our facility. They showed nothing but respect, educated all of us, and you could see how they're actually like trying to really kind of focus on that community drive and helping each other. So
that's dope.
Yeah, that one was super fun. And then in regards to the consumption lounge, that one, it's crazy how like there's so many gray ares. I feel like with that one.
There is.
And they, like how you said that first, it seemed like they weren't really cracking down on it, and the legislator at least, they didn't seem too focused on it. Like it was like, we know they're happening, but we just we're not focused on it right now. And then now to realize that the CCD is like having people go around to kind of target those events and like actually see what they could do. I feel like it's a little excessive. Yeah. And I feel like they could definitely be putting their time to something else that would be more beneficial. Mm-hmm. But I understand it. At the end of the day, there is these licenses for a reason, and like you said, it's not just something that's going to be, you don't own it. That's not your license, so you have to work hard, and you have to make sure you're educated enough and make sure you know where you're jumping into before you do it. It's a crucial business, and they're looking for, whether it's it's not really a CCD, it's more your competitors. Your competitors are constantly on edge, looking for anything that they could like report you to the CCD for. Even if there isn't anything they could report you, they're still going to report you.
Yeah.
You know, so the CCD is going to be up your neck, checking everything out. So just it's just, I think it's truly important when that they clear up those gray areas. Like you said, a lot of people don't know, and a lot of people aren't, either they didn't have the proper capital, they didn't have the proper knowledge, whatever it is, they need a little bit more kind of clear, like a little bit more clear instructions, I guess, on some stuff, you know, specifically the consumption lounges. Like I remember we contacted the CCD and tried to, get like kind of like a checklist, how like the producers and manufacturers and the retail stores have. And they sent me an article and they're like, oh, you got to read this. And it was like 52 pages long. And I was like, what?
No.
I was like, all right, we're still going to read it. I was like, you could have been more like specific, you know? So it's definitely like that's something, you know, like instead of having people out there looking at like these events that people are smoking weed, and then like you said, there's already wine festivals, there's stuff that people are already doing stuff like that. Why can't we do that? And I think it's just so fresh. Yeah. And I think that eventually, I hope it does come. And I would love for that. That'd be super cool. Could you imagine just going to an event and just seeing all of the top producers and manufacturers around being able to actually sell you their product? And, you know, and I know Route 66 Organics was kind of after that. And that's one thing that was really different about them too, is their facility, they were looking to get all of the manufacturers in-house, producers in-house, you know, and that's smart. Everyone's in-house, everything. You don't have to go and restock because that's already a brand in-house that's making sure they're stocked themselves. Yeah. So I think that would be super cool, is just making sure that let's see where it goes with those events. Basically, I'm really interested in. We're all about events. Like we're all about getting the community together and just networking and resourcing. But I think there definitely is a line, and you just have to get educated enough on what you can and can't do. Yeah. So it's
100%.
Yeah. So it's I'm interested to see how like everything plays out with the consumption lounges, because I've seen a ton of different ones. Yeah. A ton, and I've seen like some even close, and I'm very interested to see like how everything plays out with it, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, me too. You know, and we're seeing it, you know, live here in New Mexico, living here, and we're seeing everything change. And we're on a sped up timeline. I've said that, you know, several times. We're on a sped up timeline compared to other states. Yeah. The other states' bubbles didn't happen until about 2, almost 3 years into their, you know, industry. You know, we're seeing a year, you know, into the industry, that bubble popped and things went crazy. We did a weird thing like this with the licenses, and now they're on a downward spiral. We're at 1,013. We're down from 1,040 a couple months ago. Okay. So we are seeing a downward trend, and I do see that's just the natural trend. And from watching other states, the same thing happened. You know, the people who just can't make it aren't going to make it. You know, because the average sales in the state for dispensaries is $50K. Yeah. You know, and that's not very high. And so, you know, that's not much to pay your bills, because that $50K isn't the $50K you get to keep. You know, there's all, you only keep a small fraction of that. You know, like that doesn't leave you a lot of wiggle room. Exactly. You know, like there's here in Cruce's Top Crop, they're making probably $200,000. Down in Sunland, $900,000. You know, wow. So yeah, they're able to operate a little bit, you know, more smoothly than, you know, other places. So, you know, you look at 50,000, like, oh my God, you know, and I've looked at some, they're making $10,000, $8,000 a month. And I'm like, how are you still around? Yes. You know, and, you know, to be honest, it's unfortunate, but from the get-go of this industry, it was meant for people to open up and shut down, and for people to be, a competitive kind of thing. You know, may the best competitor win at the end of the day. 100%. And we are seeing that now. It's unfortunate. I'm sorry to those who are going through that now, or if you have shut down or whatever. But this is the game we decided to play. And at the end of the day, we all knew that this was the plan from the very beginning too. And also, you know, closing licenses, like I said before, doesn't guarantee anybody being saved either. You know, like if you're struggling now, who's to say you're not going to struggle as soon as they close the licenses? And if you have the capital to try again, you can't, you know, because you kind of shot yourself in the foot there. Exactly. So that's another side of that sword that sucks. You know what I mean? And it's rusty. Yeah, and it's super, super rusty, and I hate it. So that's one thing that I thought about recently. I was like, well, I mean, who's to say they're going to get saved? You know, like, you know, closing licenses, that's not a guarantee. Yeah, exactly. You know, like the reason of closing licenses was to allow people to shut down, you know, like, and if you don't know you're not going to make it or not, or if you're not sure and anything can happen, you know, that could be a shot in the foot. And that's another thing I kind of got from the legislature too, you know, just kind of squeezing out from what they were saying. It's just like, okay, you know, I can kind of see that kind of being a thing, you know, where, you know, like who's to say you're going to be around, You know, like anything can happen. You can get hit by a bus tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then your business is gone.
Exactly.
It's gone anyway.
It was already gone, but now it's gone quicker.
Yeah, now it's really gone.
Exactly.
So, you know, that was more of the gist of, you know, what they're talking about in the interim committee. And, you know, there was a panel of, you know, maybe 6 people from the industry. And, you know, regardless if, you know, you and I agree or don't agree, I kind of felt that 6 people isn't enough to really tell what the industry really wants. You know, and it's kind of unfortunate that keeps happening. And I kind of feel town halls around the state needs to happen with the different state representatives that are, you know, from those areas. You need to start holding town halls and figuring out, what do you guys want and need through the industry? And it needs to be more advertised than it normally is. You know, normally I feel like one of the only people, and there's been a couple helping me out lately, putting information out. You know, I know they say it's on the website, this and that, but people don't look. You know, they look at Instagram, they look at Twitter, they look at Facebook and everything, and when stuff's on that, they see it a little bit more and it's more exposed.
Yes.
So here's a tip for you in the state: use social media.
100%. Yes.
Yeah, use
if
social
you're
media.
not, you're behind.
Yeah, you guys are a little behind, and you know, it would help us out too if, you know, the legislators did have those town hall meetings. You know, we could all get together. You know, you agree or disagree. You know, we got to hear from what the industry in that area is saying, and then those legislators can go to the legislative session when it comes time and say, this is what my constituents have said in the industry from our town halls that we conducted. Because during the time when we were actually trying to legalize it, our current sheriff, Sheriff Stewart, she actually did that in the whole county. She went around to every little nook and cranny. She even went to Oregon, New Mexico, which is just right outside of Las Cruces, going towards Alamogordo, just up the mountain. It's just a little tiny little area right outside out of town. She even went there, and I attended it. And she was wanting to get everyone's input from the areas of, how do you feel about this? And it wasn't like her opinion or anything. She just wanted to hear what we had to say. You know, like she just like, tell me. You know, I am here to hear what you out and hear what you have to say. You know, she was like, you are my constituents, because believe it or not, if you guys don't know, a sheriff is an elected position. Yeah, you don't really have to have any kind of policing experience or anything. It's an elected position. People just have to vote for you in there. So she understands that. And so I think that's why she's fend off so well here in the area, because she does stuff like that. You know, and she's like more or less willing to hear us out. Like, okay, what issues do we have? You know, like, what is your concerns? And if the legislators did that, I think the industry would be a lot better. I don't know about you.
No, I agree 100%. It's just that lack of involvement, and they're taking the wrong information, and it's also, it falls onto our end as well, because there's not a lot of people that educate themselves and put themselves in the position to have a voice. You know, I know that they have these committees constantly, and that's one thing we're actually working on, is really getting more involved with those and making sure we have an associate over there, like making sure we're staying up to date, we're voicing our opinion, we're protecting our patients. You know, we're protecting ourselves. And it's important when you have those individuals, or that, especially like the sheriff, for example, that's huge.
Yeah.
That wasn't out. She did all of that out of her.
She didn't have to do that.
You know what I'm saying? So if the legislator definitely had that approach and they could see it more from that understanding, I feel like it would definitely be more beneficial, and it would create a better flow overall. With us wanting to voice our opinions and not feel so kind of shut down versus like, and so I think that would be huge. I really feel like if they did go around to these different town halls, like you got Bernalillo, like you got Albuquerque, you got Los Lunas, like go to all these different little cities and just hold like a little meeting and see who wants to go, see who wants to voice their opinion, and kind of go from there and just discuss different topics on each meeting. So I think that would be huge. I think that would be something that they overall everyone in New Mexico would benefit from that.
Yeah, 100%. You know, it gives us a gauge of where are we, where do we need to go?
Yes.
You know, like what does the industry need? And that's kind of my thing, is like, what does the industry need? You know, what does it need, and what does our culture here need? Well, it needs event licenses. You know, it needs more plants for micros, you know, et cetera, on and on. So yeah, we could go on for days with that, but I really want to say we have to, you know, move on to the next topic. You know, we covered so much on this, and if you guys want to check it out, you know, check out the nmlegis.gov website under webcasts, and it should be under the archives there. If not, I'm not too sure what's going on. The state does all kinds of weird stuff with their archives, but the hearing should be under there. You should be able to watch it. If not, I don't control that.
How dare you?
Yeah, I just know where it's at. Yeah, I don't build that website. So don't go after me. I'm just giving you guys, I'm the messenger here.
They're waiting outside.
Yeah, but you know, in the end, we're gonna end up with the people who, you know, thought outside the box, were innovative, you know, who thought of, different ways to approach this industry. Yes. In the end, we're going to be with those people, and those people will be left. And I am excited for that because now, I hate to say it, it's kind of like the purge. Yeah. Like we're seeing a lot of people shut down. I mean, going from 1040 to 1013, it's kind of a big little jump. So let's just not forget about the people who live, breathe, and just kind of are all about this culture. You guys should be okay. The ones who do that, and especially like you, keep soldiering on and drive on with the mission.
You got this.
So yeah, you guys got it. So anyway, and that's the same thing for you guys out there too. Just drive on with the mission. So anyway, we're gonna move on to the last topic that we have. This one seems like it's long, but there was a lot of copy and paste. So the CCD looks like they're gonna have another hearing next month. I believe it's on the 9th or it's on the 12th. There's a 9 in there. I think it's at 9 a.m. I'll have to get you guys the exact dates. But I did have it on the Facebook group, the NM Area 420. But it is going to be next month. It's going to be most likely in Santa Fe. You can leave public comments, so you don't have to attend. However, it's always better to attend so that way they can get your public comment, and it's all recorded so that way they can go back and not just read the public comments from online, but the ones that were from there in person. So this is going to be an important one. This isn't a panel hearing. A panel hearing is more or less just like, okay, we want to know what's going on kind of thing. Yeah. This one is a CCD rules changes hearings, and there's a bunch of stuff that they're kind of adding, some stuff they're striking out, and a strikeout, what that means is just taking it out of the rules, and anything underlined means that it's going to be there. So if you guys read it, that's what that means, just to kind of give you an idea. That's kind of what you can do to glance over. Say if you're a retail spot, look for the spot that talks about the retail. Don't worry about manufacturing. Don't worry about production unless you're in that industry and you have that license, because none of this will pertain to you and you're wasting your time. That's the fastest way you can get through these documents.
I'm driving through those 52 pages.
Yeah, and Control Find is your best friend.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Control Find, oh man, it's so quick. So I'm gonna go through this real quick. And a lot of this is going to be producer. It's going to be, something for amended. Then you go to manufacturing. It's pretty much all the same for them. They just have to cover their grounds for it. They can't just say same for all. They have to do it. So the first change that they're adding to this is an applicant's employee information, including but not limited to names, identification photographs, employment history, and demographic information. So they're going to want more information. And this is for just a producer, just your requirements. They're going to want to know who your employees are, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm thinking before they didn't really have as much as information. They want to make sure that they're getting all the information that they can within their capabilities of the law. Second one, or it's more the third. Some of these are skipped because I'm not going to add all that. That's way too much to read. I'm just going to read to you guys what's being added. Proof of applicant has acquired all applicable documentations from the local jurisdiction in which the licensed premise will be located, including proof of business registration, proof of zoning approval, and proof of completion of fire inspection. Now, I kind of feel this is going to, make it a little longer for certain people to get their license because some of this stuff takes time. And you guys know, sometimes getting that fire inspection, it's costly, and, sometimes that guy is really busy. So how long did it take you guys to get some of, these things through before you were able to say, okay, it's done?
Honestly, we luckily it was a huge learning experience. So last year in July, we actually had our first property, our commercial property, and it was our first building that we had ever obtained on a commercial area, I guess. And that one, it was a huge learning experience. Basically, we were able to get all the licenses, all the zoning, everything at that building. And then since I already knew what it took and I was going through different learning obstacles, jumping into this new commercial facility was easy. Yeah. Honestly, we jumped into it and we're like, all right, we need this. Pop, 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 pop. Let's go. So honestly, it really took kind of that learning curve to figure out like, all right, what all do we need? So as soon as we got this new commercial building, we were open within like a month, I think it was.
Okay. So a little bit of a learning curve kind of helped you.
Yeah, definitely. So so I think that learning curve definitely helped us out on that. Just learning exactly what we were gonna need, all the zoning, it was crazy.
So you kind of went into this one like, okay, we need this, and this, and this already.
Exactly.
Kind of like when I go into the military base and they want me to bring in paperwork, I'm like, I'm bringing everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm bringing everything.
Yeah, exactly. Always better to be more like prepared than unprepared.
Yeah,
so
definitely. So that that's the way you make bureaucracy your bitch. Take everything you can possible. Yeah, and then figure it out from there.
Got more than what you need.
Right, exactly. Oh, you need that? I got 5. Got copies for you. So going down, the next thing is proof of applicant is properly registered with the New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Department for gross receipt tax, if applicable, cannabis excise tax. So there's different kind of taxes and stuff here in New Mexico. I won't get into it, but this is something that they're adding. They just want to make sure that you're and this is something that they told me the other day because I called them with a different question. They said, before you even get your license, yeah, you do have to be registered with Tax and Rev. You know, you pretty much have to have an account with them, and then have to have proof, and then that way we can send it through. And so that's something that they're putting into concrete now. And I think they just told me that because it's going to be something that's going to be in the changes. Like, no, we're just going to kind of implement that now, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So the next one is a detailed description of any denial, suspension, revocation, surrender, or any other form of discipline, or, you know, through the 16.82 NMAC2 disciplinary action by cannabis licensing agency in another state, jurisdiction, or territory against the applicant or controlling person associated with the applicant. So what this is pretty much right here is, you know, the issues that we had with people around the state who were kind of not in good standing in other states, and they, you know, kind of had some charges pending. This is kind of their way, without changing the law right now, to get that fixed. And that's kind of what I'm getting from this. You know, like they're saying, as long as you're good in these other standings in these states, you're good. However, from this right here, you kind of have to tell them, is what it's seeing. So it's kind of like, you know, a fix, but not. So they only know what they know. And what you tell them. So this right here doesn't seem that they can still do federal background checks or anything yet.
Yeah, because there's still probably a way to go around that.
Yeah, definitely. And right now, the federal background checks aren't happening due to a mistake that we made when we wrote the CRA. We didn't do it correctly per what the federal government wants, so they can't do our federal background checks because we didn't do the proper steps. Bureaucracy. Yeah. So we didn't make bureaucracy our bitch, and hopefully we fix that and do. So the last one on this, and this pretty much, you know, applies to all of them, except a few changes on others, and I'll go through that. Failure of applicant to provide additional information when the division determines an application for licensure is incomplete. An applicant will have 48 hours to rectify any deficiencies before the division will reject the application. Like that. Yeah, so you have a little time limit. I don't know how long, you know, they gave people before, et cetera, or how long you guys had if you had any issues. But now you get 48 hours to fix it, or they're going to just reject the whole application. You got to start over, you know, go back to go. Do not click $200. You probably lost $200. And so I'm going to go down real quick. So for the producer license, looks like they're striking out, you know, material and substantial change, a license security system. They're striking that out, and they're adding a decrease, and they're just leaving in the material and substantial modification of the premise. So I think what they're adding is a security thing somewhere else. The next one on that would be a decrease in plant count, which a license is currently licensed to produce. So if your plant count decreases, you know, you got to tell them all that stuff. So that's pretty much for, you know, the amended part of a producer license, you know, if you're trying to just produce. And that's if you're trying to amend things, like say if your plant count changes or you want to go up or down or whatever, this is going to be, that's an amendment. You have to amend, you know, your application. So a change for that, and you know, this kind of applies to everything too, but a little bit different, like I said, especially on this amendment part, because a manufacturing is a little different from a producer, and you know, even a courier, you know, because on the courier portion, I'll get to that. There's a couple other things that I will mention. So under materials and substantial change, underscored is additional or removal of license activities taking place on a single license premise, or, and there's other stuff that goes with that with it. What they have striked out though, which was down under that, is changes to a licensed security system, including relocation or security points or installation of a new security system. So what this does is allows you guys to kind of figure out the best spots for your security system without having to go through the state to say, hey, I moved this 5 inches. Am I going to get in trouble? Yeah. Yeah. I move this slightly. Am I good? So that's actually kind of like a duh change, in my opinion. You know, kind of like, okay, that's a little, makes sense. Another thing that struck out, meaning they're taking out, is modification of the premise or relocation cannabis activities, which is something they kind of mentioned before. So there's a few things that you won't have to go through them to change in your, you know, your spot and all that. Okay. So that's good. So now here's the minimal requirements for production of cannabis. This is something they're adding. Cannabis plants that have germinated or cannabis clones that have been placed growing medium shall not be moved to any of the licensed premises prior to the final harvest of the plant or wastage of the plant. So it looks like they're just trying to crack down a little bit more on like
quality control.
Yeah, a little bit more on the quality control there. That's something that they're adding. Now, keep this in mind. None of this has a start date. None of this is set in stone. That's why they're having the public comment. So you guys can read all this, listen to this right now. I'm not going to read everything, guys. I'm not do that. I'm not your teacher. I'm going to read a portion of it. We'll have the link in the description of where to find these documentations. I'll get Gino that. He's looking at me like, where the hell is it? I'll get Gino that after the show, so that way we can have it for you guys in the description. Just give it a click. You can go read all this. Just read what pertains to your license. And it's really not that big of an area. You can see what's there now, what's going to change, and what's being taken out. So that way you're not wasting time. You should only take maybe 15, 20 minutes at the most. If you're a slow reader, maybe 30, like myself. So moving on, same thing for the manufacturing license. It's pretty much the same thing. Proof within the taxation, blah, blah, blah. Description of denial, fair application, employee information, all that good stuff. This one right here, it says include a proof of business registration, proof of zoning approval, et cetera, because, manufacturing and all that good stuff. And I believe, yeah, and also with the tax and rev. And of course, you have all the fire inspections and all that stuff that goes along with all that stuff. And so it's same thing with the, denial of suspension. Going down the amendment, it's pretty much the same thing about the change of the premise, increase, decrease of the premise, and, sell property, et cetera, et cetera. One thing they're taking out is change to license security system, same thing as before. Going down to the retailers, it's pretty much the same thing going on pretty much the whole way. They're copying and pasting it there. One thing that is here that I'm seeing that's different is on the amendment side is material or substantial change of the size, and it has like a thing there. I forgot to do an underline on this, but oh yeah, the security license security system. So it's the same thing from before. And it looks like additional of removal of license activities. So say you have like a consumption lounge attached to it, you're gonna have to let them know it's not there anymore, or it is, et cetera. And of course, if you're applying for it, they know it's there. One thing that they did strike out is change to a license security system. Same thing as before, or a modification to it. So that's gonna stay the same. Now we're getting down to the courier, and this is where I'm talking about is a little bit different, and it makes sense where it's a little bit different because when you're a courier, you have a vehicle involved with your business solely. So what's underlined here is an applicant's employee information. That's the same thing from before. Proof of tax. That's the same from before. Now, however, here's different. Proof of vehicle registration, vehicle insurance for each vehicle to be used in courier activities. I guess that wasn't in there before. And now they're adding that in because there probably something happened with vehicles and of course insurance.
Different vehicles, stuff like that.
Yeah, and it makes sense. They want a copy of delivery plan, including but not limited to how cannabis and cannabis products will be picked up and delivered, ensuring proper chain of custody throughout, how security will be maintained throughout delivery, and how payment will be accepted. So probably going again, closing more loopholes, ensuring that we're crossing our T's, dotting our I's, however you want to do it. If you're dyslexic, it's the other way. So that doesn't seem like it's too bad. It just seems like they want you to just be a little more detailed on how you're going to go about this. It probably goes down to security too as well. Next underlying thing, and we're almost done, y'all. Don't give me, stay with me. I know this stuff's boring, but if you're in the industry, you got to know this. So the last, one of the last things here is detailed description of any denial suspension. Same thing as before. And of course, failure of applicant to provide information, blah, blah, blah. You have 45 hours to rectify, et cetera, et cetera. And you go to consumption license, same as above, same thing there. And there wasn't really much of a change between that and like a retail space. So I'm not going to mention it. If it does apply to you, go ahead and read it so that way you get a full understanding. Maybe there's something that I missed, but I'm just giving you guys a little bit of a tidbit of what's in here, what's really going to change. It just seems like just closing some loopholes and stuff. One thing that I did notice that's kind of huge, is the only change under finished product and labeling, meaning like the labels, is no sticker or other obstruction shall be used to cover the cannabis logo. And what that means is the little THC logo that's red, and it has to be red. It has a little leaf on it that says THC. That can't be covered. And the reason why they're doing that most likely is because the places that were selling out-of-state cannabis, they were just slapping the New Mexico sticker over the THC sticker and fucked it up for everybody. Because there's some people who, they just had a simple mistake from the printing, and it didn't print out red, printed out black, and they had to put a red same one, or came out blue, wrong color, right. And they had to take the red sticker and put it over it, even though it's the same thing and it's not different from the state. That kind of does cause some issues for people that have ran into that issue. I've seen it myself, but the reason why they're doing this is because some of the not nice people who brought out-of-state cannabis here, were selling it, did exactly that. And so they're just trying to close that loophole to ensure that they can go after the people that are doing such things. So that's really the only thing in the product and labeling that I saw. The same thing for them when it comes to product labeling, change a license security system, et cetera, et cetera. They're crossing that out. So that's really all I have this week, guys, for the episode. I really wanted to just give you an idea of what's in these changes. I'll have the links for you so that way you can just click, but it's up to you to read it. If you guys follow the rules, you'll be good. If not, I'm sorry for you. Yeah. So, but that's all we have for this week. However, here in Cruces, we're having the Top Crop 1 year anniversary. I'll be there with Cruces Craft Cannabis that day. Come by, say what's up. It'll be a cool little event. I think they're having like a whole little, event thing in the parking lot. So it should be a good time. It's gonna be dope. Cool. Yeah. You got anything to share before we get off? Maybe events or anything?
No, honestly. So just come to our trunk or treat event if you're in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Stop by October 27th, and also tomorrow we're having a puff and paint night / block party with Lazy Days over on Eubank. It's 1812 Eubank Boulevard. So stop on by, visit us, and come to the stars with us.
Cool. Yeah. Go see Galileo, guys. All right. I'll see you next week. Bye.